Good morning, everybody. You are tuned to Computers 2K now. Uh-oh. Why is the audio not working there? Just a second.
Does
I feel like this is
unknown,
I feel like this is the opening to the World
Ah,
Series.
boy. No, I was.
What
When I start, I talk to you when I'll explain when we get back into the show. You're tuned to Computers 2K now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next couple of hours, along with Nick.
Hello.
Good morning. And Gal was here.
Yeah, he dropped off. I don't know what happened.
Okay.
He'll be back.
Yeah. Our number is 919-518-9773. Computers 2K voice on Skype. And today's show is made possible by Vimix Software, dudeinit.com, and is sponsored by Tom Sinclair of Live Streaming Gear. Yeah, so when I flip the shot to the live, I also start the record, and I do it from here with the mouse. And it's about 8 feet away from me. And sometimes I don't recognize the record button, and instead of hitting the record button, I hit the audio button on the live show. So it killed the audio, and I had to go over there. Yeah, that was. And talking about vMix, I always meant to ask you.
What you got?
If I restart vMix over there, the first time I hit record, it pops up and says it's
Yes.
gonna. Why?
I don't know. Mine does that too. I don't know why.
It doesn't do it here on the production,
probably a
but
setting
it does.
for it.
There's some setting, yeah. But yeah, it can be a pain in the you know what.
I had an interesting situation yesterday.
Okay.
And it solidified the lack of the true lack of technical ability in certain groups. We had our 7th district GOP convention yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And they had some members come in on Zoom. It was a freaking disaster. They had no setup for getting the audio out. They had no micro. It just was a complete their solution for audio, Amnon, was to hold a microphone up to the speaker of the computer. And I was just dumbfounded with everything that's gone on the past year. And that could still happen.
Yeah.
If this would happen 2 years ago, I would have pawned it off on old people in politics,
no experience.
They have no idea. But after everything that we've been through over the past year, and all of the people that are willing and able to help, me being an example of it in that group, it was just a really eye-opening moment that some people are just really technically inept's not the right word. I guess it's the unwillingness to ask for help on technical stuff. It's really frustrating and very annoying.
And these, do you think
For
these
no
people,
reason.
do you
Totally
think,
avoidable.
do you think they used Zoom before? They were
I'm not
on,
sure. They've had a year of doing things all over Zoom. I mean, it's not, and this wasn't something
dang,
that was,
wow.
this wasn't something that was just sprung on last second. I mean,
Yeah.
we all know that Zoom has been an integral part of things for going on a year now. So this is not a last second like, oh, here's something brand new. That's what I found so frustrating. It was a real,
So
it was a really frustrating event.
So you had to take half an hour or an hour to explain what
No,
they should
it was
do?
during the middle of the event, and I tried,
Oh,
and I could. There was nothing for me to piecemeal together. I didn't have any of the parts. I didn't have any of the cables. I mean, it was just,
uh,
it's just very frustrating and
put it
totally
in,
avoidable.
put it in your report. Yeah, there's
What
still,
event was that? I was out.
I was at a political event yesterday,
Mm.
and Zoom was an element of it, and they had no solution for audio in and out of Zoom, but they had guests speaking on Zoom.
Yeah. Okay. So remember when I was back in Israel at my parents' house?
Yeah.
My dad, he's one of his pastimes. It's not one of his passions is songwriting, and he's part of the local chapter of composers and poets, and they have like a weekly meeting at the every Friday something evening for an hour, 2 hours. They each showcase their work, and so I got to experience two of these as a side viewer, being present at the home, and it is comical as hell. A bunch of people regularly doing this. They are connecting every week using the same technology, and the same faults happen again and again. You know, people, they're not muting themselves, and there's a lot of noise at home. People, it's just, it doesn't really matter. People, they do not want to learn how to use tools. They want stuff to just work.
And
And
I'll agree with that. And I think that's human nature, right? I think you and I want the same thing as well. But you have to be able to read the room. If you're going to have the lieutenant governor of North Carolina at your meeting, you need to have a setup for him to be able to talk to the crowd. And they didn't have that. It was very frustrating to me because there was more, myself included, there are very technically competent people in that group. So I have to scramble to try to find a solution. In the case, I couldn't. I didn't have any I didn't have any cables. I had no idea what the setup looked like. It was just really frustrating. And there's just no excuse for it. It's just, I guess it's just it's pure stupidity and laziness. That's all I can
well,
tell.
that's what I was about to say. All of these uh, technically knowledgeable people, right? They're terrible at planning things. I
I
mean, I'm
mean, and
talking from my own experience, right? I am very well versed, and most of my technical planning comes from a lot of bad experience in the past. But as a general rule, if we are deep into knowledge, then planning is probably not our strong suit. It's like something is lacking in another another side of us.
yeah, but anyway you look at it, it's bad. It's bad.
Yeah, yeah. An event like that, of course,
It's
somebody who should be well versed in planning definitely should be present.
yeah, it's yeah, it's lack of planning on planning.
Yeah,
But again, after a year of this, there's no excuse
Yeah.
for it.
yeah,
Uh,
I agree.
6, 7, 8 months ago, maybe I'll give you a pass. Not
Well,
today. It's unexcusable. It's
yeah,
unexcusable.
you can just imagine if, like you said, if the lieutenant governor is there and
Oh, he
talking.
was.
No, and talking and then watching the video and there's no audio. What is he going to think about that chapter?
Oh, he thinks they're a bunch of stupid
See,
jackasses, and he's right.
That's yeah.
Yeah. No, I'll get off my soapbox. It was just a frustrating experience. There's even non-technical people have figured out how to use Zoom over the past year.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying there's no excuse for it.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I see different people every week using Zoom for a show. And from the beginning, like a year ago, and me explaining to them, oh, you need to actually do this, and you should use this, and you should do that, and you should lower this. And you see how slowly throughout the year, things got better and better and better with the setup. But it took some work.
And that's fine if it takes work. It should take work, right?
Right. Yeah.
Most people are not like us.
It's like you said, they expect it to just work. And when you tell them, no, you need to connect about 20 minutes before and let's make sure everything is okay, then they realize what's going on. So it's okay if you can solve it. And it's okay if you can prevent it from happening the next time. If somebody there.
Well, these things happen once every 2 years, so it's not like there's a meeting next week. That's what's so frustrating.
Yeah, but there are other meetings kind of like.
Oh, well, don't worry. We had our meeting 4 weeks ago, and it was perfect because I did it.
Oh.
And I knew what I needed to do, and it worked out really well.
They need education, and not everybody can tell them how to do this.
But here's the thing, and this is what I noticed yesterday. The guy that was quote unquote in charge of the Zoom is unwilling to ask for help.
Then he should not be in charge.
Well, and that's the problem. How do you tell? It's hard to tell a volunteer not to help.
Yeah, but something.
It is.
Right, but it's well, I don't know.
It is. That's a tough situation.
It is, yeah. No,
so, and again, and looking at politics specifically, Republican politics, it tends to be an older crowd, a significantly older crowd.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, me and my friend Lillian were probably the only people in our 20s at the whole meeting, and there was over 100 people. I'd say the average age was at least 50, if not 55 or 60. A very old crowd, which is fine, right? That's fine.
It's actually I would
but
think.
You've got people you've got people in your group or your circle that are competent and capable. And when you don't ask, it makes the whole group look like a bunch of stupid jackasses, and it sucks because I've done this. I mean, I've been doing Zoom meetings for. I've been doing pretty complex, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but I've been doing pretty complex Zoom meetings for over a year now. We've done some pretty complicated stuff.
Because
I had screw ups and whatnot, but that was early on, and I learned and we fixed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We had to. And it worked out really well. And it's just frustrating to see in freaking April of 2021, a year after this nonsense. Oh, well, we need a microphone? Yeah, your laptop mic isn't going to freaking work. It's a freaking gymnasium. The sound is awful.
Yeah.
So frustrating, annoying. And
I remember there were some of the Vietnam show conferences that were held over at the museum, and they were recording on a laptop what came out of the big speakers in the hall. So you can imagine what it sounded like. I mean, it was literally like you're sitting somewhere in the audience and you're recording. And you try to explain to them, no, you already have a sound system. All you have to do is just run 2 more wires to the. And it's it's amazing what some people who are, oh yeah, we run the audio system. Well, yeah, this too shall pass.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember about a year ago going to a party, a birthday party. It was just right before COVID hit, right? So it was like still almost a regular party, and some people canceled. And we get there, and there's a DJ, and they have a system, and everything's in place. But for some reason, and I have zero idea, there was no way to hook up any external audio to it. Like the 3.5 millimeter jack didn't work. And because I was asked to prepare a presentation, with a slideshow for. So I brought my bag with all of my little trinkets and equipment to hook up some basic audio. I had everything, right? And this is me, just a regular Joe, just
Yeah.
wanting to make sure his friend doesn't, because I didn't know what the place has, so I brought everything. And this is you, a DJ, and you don't have a cable. It's like,
Yeah.
it was ridiculous.
The hardest part
Waiting is the hardest part.
for me to tell people what not to do and what actually they should do is the microphone. And they come in on a show and they sound like they're in a tunnel. And you try to explain to them that, well, this audio is okay to talk with grandma, maybe. But here you're on a professional show. You want to come out good so people will hear you. And, don't you have a headset? Yeah, I've got earbuds. No, I said a headset, something that has a microphone in it. Anything sounds better than using a laptop's
Oh, yeah.
microphone. Anything would sound better. And if you are there using Zoom day in and day out, you should invest a few bucks, and it's not a lot of money. I mean, we're
But
talking.
you know why it happens though? Why I think it happens?
Why?
When I talk, I do not hear the way I sound on your end ever.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Right.
This is mask wearing.
Yeah.
All over again, right? I need to wear the mask to protect you. I need to have a good microphone to protect your ears. Right? And that is exactly, it's caring about how you are seen, how you are perceived on the other end.
Right.
That has zero meaning to most people.
Mm-hmm.
They
It's a
never
shame.
put themselves at that position. And so that's why we get to this situation.
Yeah. Yeah, and then they say, "Oh, you mean I can just use a headset?" I mean, they really think that the microphone on the laptop is good. Some of them have external microphones, which is great. I mean, they figured out, or somebody told them. But it's just amazing. So I mean, and sometimes I'm thinking when I tell them that's good for grandma. Sometimes grandma cannot hear good.
No,
And that
that's not good. I
sound
agree.
like that may be hard. And you see that grandma is asking, what? What can you repeat? If you have something, and again, a headset that costs about $20 will work great. And you will see that the other side appreciates that. Anyway. All right. So
it's been great to be a hero, though.
It's a what?
It's been great to be a hero. Yeah. During all this stuff. I mean, it's like nobody has any idea what to do with any of this stuff. So anytime it's like, oh my God, you saved the event. I mean, it's a good ego stroke. Not being honest.
Is there a doctor in the airplane? Yeah, that's the feeling. I know.
Yeah, it's been nice to go to stuff, and when you're the guy, I'm not an egomaniac, but it's still. I'm a big fan of that.
No, it has become. I know exactly what you mean, and it has become to a situation where I go to somewhere. It doesn't matter if they know me or not, right? and I sit in the crowd waiting. And now, if I'm alone, then I just wait for somebody to, I don't want to be, because the moment I insert myself into it, then I'm in it for the rest of the event.
Yep.
And I came, I came as a bystander. I'm talking small events. I'm not talking like huge events. And I wouldn't find myself active in those situations. And so, but if I'm with family or friends, right? It's like, hey, go fix it for them. They say,
That's
what
exactly
are
what
you
happened
talking about?
yesterday. They're
Yeah.
like, Nick, go
Come on.
look at that. And I was like,
Somebody will
no,
figure it
no,
out.
no.
Give him a chance, right? And then 2 minutes, 3 minutes pass, 4 minutes pass.
You're like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, and then you have to insert yourself. But yeah, so yeah, that's probably my only superhero ability.
Mm.
And yeah, sometimes it's nice helping out. Most of the time, it's this type of burden. But yeah,
It's
I know
always
exactly what
nice
you mean.
to help out. It's always nice. But
But in your case, I mean, this is a volunteer
yeah.
based event, so
Yep.
definitely, because you get a moment to shine as one of the volunteers, and that's a good thing because you are part of that system, right?
Oh yeah, and that's nice
So
when the chairman comes
people
over
will
after and
trust
says,
you
Nick,
more the next time. So yeah,
yeah, that's the chairman came over after and said, thank you for your help. I mean, yeah, it's nice. It's nice.
Yeah.
So it's got its pros and cons. All right, enough of
All
my
right.
soapbox. I'm sorry.
So we were talking before the show started about this, and here's the article. Using just your phone number, a remote attacker can easily deactivate WhatsApp on your phone and then stop you getting back in. This is from Forbes. Even two-factor authentication will not stop this. The attacker triggers a 12-hour freeze on new verification codes being sent to your phone. Then simply reports that same phone number as a lost or stolen phone needing deactivation. There are apparently no follow-up questions, and an automated process has been triggered without your knowledge. And your account reactivated without one of those verification codes blocked by that 12-hour freeze, which the attacker can renew for another 12-hour window until the next day. WhatsApp blocks those reactivating codes indefinitely. There's no sophistication to this attack. That's the real issue here, and WhatsApp should address it immediately for complaints. So I sent it to our guy here, Gal, and Gal has some ideas about it.
well, I mean, the attack exists.
Yeah.
I'm not saying. Let's first understand why Forbes is even writing about it, right? And it's because we're getting closer and closer to the May deadline, where the same deadline that was supposed to happen
In December.
mid February, it
yeah.
just was pushed to May, and WhatsApp is updating their privacy policy because the business side of WhatsApp communication is going to integrate with the Facebook side. So nothing changed there, but because this is again in the face of WhatsApp users, it's a notification that they see every time they go to the phone until they approve it. This is again the migration to Signal type post. Now the attack specifically, yes, it exists. Is it a risk? I even if the attack exists, right, as a targeted tool, as like I wanna annoy Amnon specifically, yes, it can be used as a prank, as an annoyance. There's no risk of data loss. Okay. I'm not sure that they will change that because, in a way, right, it is an effective tool for reporting stolen access. But there is if you take this attack and you notch it one sophistication level up, then you get something that is very, very troubling. And that's what happened to a lot of people that I knew a while back. It's like right around January. So here, the process, as you explained, as you read from the article, is you go to the WhatsApp website and you notify that your number has been that your account has been stolen, and that blocks the account. That means that any logged in phone will be kicked out, and the 12-hour lock starts. That 12-hour lock, while it might be easy for a hacker to create a timer and then send it back, I'm pretty sure automating the response is not possible. So when you're talking about large scale hacks, right, you probably need to go through a CAPTCHA. I haven't tried it since you sent it because I didn't have time, but I'm pretty sure you go through some CAPTCHA solution. So this might cost money to anyone who wants to automate the process. So that's why I don't think, as a general rule, this hack is like a big deal, because nobody can make any profit out of it, right? That's what most hacks are about. It's how do I make profit? What can make profit is harvesting contact information. And the hack that happened to friends of mine was a simple one. Once one of your contacts have been hacked, any of them, and you get a message from them on WhatsApp, right? And on WhatsApp, it's encrypted end to end. You feel comfortable with this conversation in WhatsApp, and your friend sends you, "Hey, um, I uh, I sent you a text message with a code, right? Could you send me that code?" And the way that worked was, or I'm stuck. I had to verify a friend's, or like they come up with a premise that will cause you to check your text message, your regular text message, not your WhatsApp ones, and repeat that code back. And what they do is they hack the two-factor authentication that happens when you log into WhatsApp, and by doing so, they take over your WhatsApp identity. And from that moment, they can automate, because they can use the web access and all that. And they send messages like these to your entire contact list, right? And then that propagates. Some people fall into the trap, send back the code, and then their contact list is hacked, etc. So they build this social network database based on phone contact list on WhatsApp, and that's a lot more troubling. I don't know how that can be solved either. I'm guessing their WhatsApp does not have a two-factor authentication. It has a single-factor authentication process. That single factor is always your mobile number and a text message to it. And it can be socially engineered. The social engineering hack isn't that complex. It's a very simple one. Is, hey, I sent you a code. Could you send it back to me? And just the premise of that, right? And that's not enough. There's no password. There's no other process. There are reasons there aren't, right? Because when they designed it, it was a unique way of identifying yourself, but it's no longer valid. That article quotes 2 billion users, right? That's a lot. That's half the population, a bit less, but it's 30%, right, of the population of the Earth. It's a huge network,
Mm-hmm.
and so whatever worked to build that network is probably no longer enough when it comes to security. And yes, it's an interesting concept. Will this Let's put it this way, this isn't the reason I would tell people, hey, move to something else, move to Signal, move to Telegram, move to something else. I would say WhatsApp is flawed, right? And from a technical aspect, I would I would not recommend using WhatsApp. On a personal aspect, on a connection based access, connection based on visibility to your peers. If they're already on WhatsApp, nothing is going to stop you from using WhatsApp, right? Other than just stubbornness. I don't like WhatsApp, but I won't uninstall it from my phone, even though Facebook has a hold on it, because most of my friends are there. I've managed to move some of them to Signal, and my communication has moved to Signal, but I can't uninstall WhatsApp completely because there's still a lot of important people that I'm connected through to
Mm-hmm.
them through that. I did that with Facebook. I mean, I stopped. Facebook is no longer installed on any of my devices. I still have the account. I log into it from a separate browser a profile, right? I use Firefox with containers, so it has its own container. So if I really need to see Facebook, which happens probably once every 2 months, I go in, I check something, and I spend not more than a minute or two on that specific post that I could only see there, uh, and that's it. So Facebook is no longer. I don't feel threatened by Facebook collecting information about me, but they do collect information about me in a roundabout way, right? Through the friends that I'm part of the network and what interests them. Um, and we do know that Facebook works in that way, right? We do know from evidence that has been gathered up until now is they build a profile on anyone, even those who are not participating, through their proxies, through the people they are connected to. So yeah, um, another cutting the cord probably means cutting the cord from these big tech uh, solutions as well, those that provide communications as well. But there isn't a good, like a perfect alternative.
No, never
So
is.
yeah, and so WhatsApp for now is the lesser evil. It is definitely not Facebook, even though Facebook owns them. The main reason I'm saying that is that they work in a different way. The company is still the tech people behind WhatsApp are still they have autonomy from the Facebook mega machine. Uh, One of the evidence is that these privacy changes, right? They caused a lot of trouble to Facebook, and they had to delay their plans. And for a company like that to delay their plans, that hurts the bottom line eventually, right?
Sure.
So yeah, so it's just evidence that there is something here. These companies, they still want to work within their legislative rights and the laws that they are at least supposedly uh, um, working within. So yeah, WhatsApp is the lesser evil. I would recommend using something else if it's possible to move your entire network or your substantial contacts from it to that network.
I mean,
But it's
since
this flaw isn't such a big deal as the Forbes article makes it to be. I think it's actually there's some comfort in knowing that even though you've lost complete access, in about 12 hours you might be getting it back because you still have the phone. You still are the person who will get that SMS text, right? So it might be an imperfect solution, but it's not a bad solution, and it's not a terrible one security wise. And if somebody took over, and apparently it's rather easy taking over your SMS communications by impersonating you over the phone and asking, your T-Mobile representative that you have to switch to another phone or something, to another SIM. And that happened in targeted communications.
And still
Um,
happening.
and still happening, yeah, but there's no, I mean, the moment you have people working in an organization, even though you put in a lot of procedure on how to prevent such cases, people, they feel compassion, they feel empathy is still the most hackable trait, right?
Mm-hmm.
So um, as long as another person is involved in the process of giving information, that's probably going to be the weakest point,
The weakest
right?
link. Yep.
Yeah. And so uh, I think it's a good uh, security measure. It's far from perfect. It can be abused like anything else, but that would definitely not be the reason for me to switch. There are other reasons, good ones, not this one.
So ever since you moved me to Signal, I
Mhm.
may have opened WhatsApp a handful of times. I mean,
Yeah, but you have a
hardly.
contact or two back in Israel that use WhatsApp, right?
And I told them to move to.
Oh, so they moved as well. So
Yeah.
you managed to move your network,
I
and
don't
that's
know that
great.
I don't know that
That's
they moved, but they installed Signal because I told them that that's what I want to use.
Well, they moved their communication with you
Yeah,
to Signal. That's what's
exactly.
important to you,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Yeah, and that happened with most of my network. And I gotta say, most of my network have moved, but I still have a few contacts, and that means I
Yeah,
need WhatsApp installed.
yeah.
I have stripped it from probably all of the permissions I could, which is it's some comfort. It's not all, right, but it's still there. I can't remove it completely because those communications are still active. It's not like something that I can throw away.
Yeah. Yep.
There was another
Uh,
one that you sent me. What was that
yeah,
about?
that was the thing about Signal. That was the
Oh yeah, their support for a cryptocurrency
yeah,
exchange.
yeah.
Yeah, a lot of hoopla about nothing. First of all, I don't know if they'll. I mean, they rolled it into beta, as far as I read, and it's just a method of transferring some sort of cryptocurrency that is really obscure in a way, nothing like Bitcoin, some newer thing.
Mm-hmm.
And what was funny about the article you sent me was it's like, oh, this is a stab in the back. It was like a complete disappointment of this company who's trying to find a way of producing some income in a way. I'm guessing they have a way of, getting a, a, a small portion of the transaction. Uh,
They're trying to make
and
some money.
I'm guessing they're
But
trying to make some money. They're without forcing any other monetary, um, you know, common solutions like ads, like um, harvesting data, right? And they they chose to, test the waters with this cryptocurrency stuff. They're not mining anything with your phone.
right.
They're not selling your information. Your information, one of the reason they chose that specific cryptocurrency, what they said was that the transaction, they have some privacy uh, um, uh, concept built into him. I don't know that cryptocurrency, and it has zero meaning for me if I'll ever, because I'll never use that, right? So it was like a hate letter to anyone supporting cryptocurrency. And I say, I don't get you.
Yeah.
That's all. It was like, there's nothing in it. There's nothing at all.
All right. Let's see what else. This is interesting. Do you have any problem with your computers getting hot?
From time to time.
Microsoft is starting to submerge its servers in liquid to improve their performance and energy efficiency. Now, don't do this at home. Don't go out there and fill up your tub and put your server in it. A rack of server is now being used for production loads in what looks like a liquid bath. This immersion process has existed in the industry for a few years now, but Microsoft claims it's the first cloud provider that is running two-phase immersion cooling in a production environment. Now, they are submerging it in some liquid, but it's not just water.
And they're doing it for the Azure's data centers?
I don't know. It's still just one rack of they're starting to do it. But the cooling works by completely submerging server racks in a specially designed non-conductive fluid. The fluorocarbon-based liquid works by removing heat as it directly hits components, and the fluid reaches a lower boiling point, 122 degrees Fahrenheit or 50 degrees Celsius, to condense and fall back into the bath as a raining liquid. It creates a closed loop cooling system, reducing costs as no energy is needed to move the liquid around the tank, and no chiller is needed for the condenser either. It's essentially a bathtub. So the rack will lie down inside that bathtub, and what you will see is boiling just like you'd see boiling in your pot. The boiling is your pot. In your pot is at 100 degrees Celsius, and in this case, it's 50 degrees. So it's interesting, though. I still don't know if you need to. This is obviously certain servers, but what do you do if you need to stick a CD in there, or you need to plug a USB drive into a thumb drive into it? And I mean, it's good for data centers. If it works like this, it's unbelievable because they spend so much money on air conditioning.
But this isn't new.
No,
this
it's
concept.
Not. Yeah.
People have been doing this for 30 years. Mineral oil PCs were very popular back in the 90s. Were you familiar? Are you familiar with those?
The what?
Mineral oil PCs?
No.
Mineral oil is non-conductive.
Right.
So people would build a computer inside of a fish tank, fill it with mineral oil.
Oh.
It was very common back in the 90s and early 2000s. Mineral oil PCs. And it was the same thing. The mineral oil is non-conductive. Yeah. So you're it's never been done on it. The thing Microsoft doing is a different thing, but
right,
it's using a similar concept to a complete submersion in some sort of liquid to transfer the heat.
Can fish swim in mineral oil?
They cannot, and people have tried that.
Yeah, because I see the pictures. It all looks like a very elaborate aquarium.
Yep.
But no life in it.
Well, no. You can take an aquarium. You can put a a divider in it, glass, and fill
Yeah.
half of it with that stuff and half with water. Put
Yeah,
fish
but
and
it'll probably boil the water, right? The water will be too heated.
no. Remember, if it gets to 50 degrees, an aquarium needs to be about a lot warmer. I can't remember exactly what an aquarium needs to be at. I think it's 80 some. So you would need to actually heat the water, but then it's going to heat the other side. I don't know. Don't hire me to do this for you.
Well, that's what it looks like. And that's a mineral oil PC. That's a pretty much completely submerged computer in mineral oil inside of a fish tank.
Hmm.
And obviously you have your connectors and whatnot out of out of the submersion, but you can see everything else is submerged.
There's
So
another solution. I remember there's these companies that make how's it called, quadro quadrophobic solutions, where you um, it's usually some two coats of materials that form the bond, and you you spray your electronics with this
Substance.
compound
No?
substance, and it is completely it repels any liquid, and so you can put it in water and nothing would happen because your everything is coated. There is no
Hmm.
yeah, I'll try to find that demo.
Interesting.
It was really interesting. So you can treat a motherboard you can treat a complete setup, right? If you treat it properly. I think it's still a lot more complex because here the liquid is no risk, right? So you don't need to remember to, nothing happens if you miss a spot. Um,
Right.
but so I'm guessing the solution of coding is more expensive, but it's still an interesting idea because I don't know. I wonder what would be easier to keep cool, like water or this oil, right? So interesting.
Yeah. I mean, people don't realize that the heat that even a laptop puts out. It's just amazing. And when you sit in the summer in your office at home and you're getting warm, there's a reason for it.
yeah, you have the heat on.
Yeah.
You have an
Yeah.
AMD FX 3580
Oh.
CPU.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, the office I'm sitting at,
Yeah.
right? It's the warmest
Yeah.
room in the house because of this. The TVs are on, the PCs are on, right?
Yeah.
The lights are on, everything together. That's
When I was
the
using
router.
when I was using one of those servers that we're using now for Plex as the
Mhm.
production machine here. I mean, this thing puts out some heat.
Yeah.
I added an 8-inch duct that I got at Home Depot. I made a hole in the wall, round hole, and stuck it out, and raised it outside, above, and down so rain will not get into it. And it was right on the fan, attached to the case. And in the summer, that air would go out; it would not come in here. In the winter, it was nice because it was
Yeah.
warming up the place. But yeah, it makes a big difference when you have a computer that's putting a lot of heat into that
Yeah, and now
into the room.
in
Yeah,
winter when you're cold, I
and
tell you go watch some TV.
yeah, yeah, and
Flex needs to work.
those AMDs that Nick mentioned. Oh boy,
Awful.
yeah,
Absolutely terrible. I'm going to make one more PSA, Amnon. Again,
do it.
Get one of those lithium-ion battery jumpers. We've talked about them a whole bunch. I had to use mine again this week. They're 60, 70, 80, 90 bucks. You can get them at Costco or BJ's or Sam's Club or on Amazon. Get one of those jumper packs for your car. It will save your life.
Yep. I had an uh, unfortunately a negative experience with that one I got.
Oh, really?
It doesn't work if your battery is completely dead. Now, if the battery is
Well,
clicking,
the battery's bad, which is what you're describing.
Well, that wasn't bad. Hannah's BMW was parked here for about 4 months, and the battery just died, and it was dead. And she came. She said, I'm going to leave the Pathfinder, and I'm going to take the BMW." So, trying to start, not even the dome light will come on.
Yeah.
No lights. So I said, "Oh, wait, nah, no problem." I went and got the thing and left it on for about a minute because they said that's what you should do. And then tried, and it just went click. I went click. And we tried and tried, and it wouldn't do it. So she got the Pathfinder and we put a jumper cables, and it started. And it's been fine since.
Okay, so it's not a bad battery.
No, it's not a bad battery. The battery was pretty new, but it drained.
I've had some mixed experiences. Well, you have to be sometimes you have to disconnect and reconnect it to the battery because there is a sensor in the electrical system. There's a sensor in the jumper. So to reset it, quote unquote, you take your positive or your negative terminal off. The device shuts off, and then you can connect your terminal again. And then at least on mine, it's got a little screen that shows what it's doing.
Now this one does not have a screen.
But I had to use it.
If the battery clicks
Thursday. Yeah.
If it's like in the 8, 9, 10 volts, it's not going to turn the engine over.
Yeah.
But it will, with that thing, absolutely, it works great. And I mean, I still leave it in Kathy's car. Kathy takes short trips in the summer with air conditioning, and she always has the headlights on. And it gets to a point where, okay, you're not giving me enough. I'm giving you everything, and you're not giving me enough. So she will be gone to the store somewhere, and then when she comes out, it would just click, and then I have to go over there. But I showed her what to connect and all that. I said, that's all you have to do.
Perfect.
So we'll see. Yeah, but it's great. I agree. It's small because I have a jump pack it weighs what, about 15 pounds. But these things are small. They keep the charge pretty good. They're easy to use, but they are not a replacement for the battery, obviously. Because it's a small thing. I mean, it's got small batteries, and they're using an elaborate electronics to make it jolt your system, which is nice. Yeah.
So that's I'll every time I use it, I'll continue to remind people get one. Yep. Especially if you're camping or anything like that. It's where you could accidentally leave something plugged in or charging or something like that and have a dead battery.
Yeah, so, not to talk about the fact that you can charge your phone with it.
Of course, yeah, I forgot about that. I mean,
it's got a bunch of different outlets that you can do things with. So yeah, it's nice.
Yep.
So we talked about last week about, by the way, those of you who are wondering about specials, Spence is out of state, went to visit, and we're not going to have specials today. We talked last week about Amazon trying in Alabama trying to unionize. Didn't pan out.
You don't say.
They didn't have enough votes. A lot of people voted against it. It's amazing.
When you threaten your employees, they absolutely voted.
Absolutely.
When you intimidate your employees, they absolutely vote against it.
Yeah. And can you imagine that those people that did vote? I mean, can you imagine the environment, the condition at that particular facility? They almost, I mean, they had about a third of the people that voted for it. Can you imagine the intimidation of those that voted for it are now worried, okay, they're going to find out I voted for it. I'm going to get fired. This is no fun to work at a place like that anymore after something like this. It's a shame. Is a shame.
Absolutely.
And are you guys using OneDrive?
Oh,
I try
yeah,
not to.
at work, yes, but OneDrive is really just SharePoint.
So Microsoft is finally releasing a 64-bit version of OneDrive. Roughly 14 years after the first 64-bit version of Windows was released.
I had no idea it wasn't 64-bit.
No, it's 32. The company says the new version of OneDrive will help those who need to transfer large files or many files at the same time, since 64-bit systems can access more resources than their 32-bit counterparts. This is coming from Engadget. Yeah.
Yeah, but it shows you that it wasn't really a problem.
No.
Well, I mean, when you copy over, online and all that,
No, I mean,
I'm wondering.
the amount of files, the amount of stuff that you handle.
Yeah, right.
On something like OneDrive, right? Yeah.
But it may be able to buffer a lot of stuff and then do it. I don't know. There must be a reason why they did this. But yeah, they're 64-bit. About time.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if you have hot spots.
Oh, yes. This is a big one.
Okay, you talk about it.
This is Verizon Hot Spots, right?
Yeah.
Verizon Jetpack. They recalled 1.5 million units for 2.5 million units for possible explosion, which, to be honest, isn't surprising. I mean, lithium-ion batteries are notorious. I mean, there's been pictures of people's pants getting practically melted to their skin. Lithium-ion batteries are very dangerous. That's why if you ever see one start to bubble or whatever you call it, get little bumps on it, you need to do something with it immediately, because it's liable to explode. And I mean, it'll cause some serious. There's a lot of power in those little lithium-ion batteries. They're not big, but boy, they will cause quite an explosion when they go. So obviously, they found something in the circuitry of these batteries to warrant a a recall. So yeah, you've got to. I think there's a checker on their website where you put in your serial number or IMEI or something like that, and it'll tell you if you're.
They said that it impacts Ellipsis Jetpack mobile hotspots imported by Franklin Wireless Corporation and sold between April 2017 and March 2021.
Yeah, so I'm sure they'll have something on their site for people that have them. But yeah, I mean, this is not incredibly uncommon. We've seen this before with lithium-ion batteries.
Yeah, but it's like you say, it's dangerous.
Yeah, they can be very dangerous.
Yep.
But I mean, even a healthy lithium-ion battery can randomly explode.
Sure.
And cause especially if it's in your pocket or something like that, I'd say it possibly could kill you. I mean, I don't know exactly what the blast is, but there's a possibility. Those things are really serious.
Look, if it burns you,
Yeah, I mean, if you go on YouTube and watch lithium-ion battery explosions, I mean, they're pretty scary things. And we're walking around in our pockets, all day next to, walking around with them all day in our pockets. So,
Alan, are you talking about the jump pack? Not effective it cooler than -30.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I mean,
I don't know how many batteries are affected.
yeah, I'm gonna say, yeah, you're not gonna have many batteries that work at that
Yeah.
range anyway.
Yeah. All right. Here is something that for a long time, I've been talking about with customers, and it comes up now. Matt Wallenweg, co-founder of the open source blogging platform WordPress, he writes, Wix, the website builder company you may remember from stealing WordPress code and lying about it, has now decided the best way to gain relevance is attacking the open source WordPress community in a bizarre set of ads. They can't even come up with original concepts for attack ads and have tried to rip off Apple Mac versus PC ads that tastelessly personify the WordPress community as an absent, drunken father in a therapy session. I mean, I won't bore you with the whole article, but apparently they're hurting.
I'm sure.
And they are, and there are some things here that I didn't know. Now, here's what I do know about Wix. Wix is easy to use. You drag and drop building your site, but a lot of people don't know it. You can never move that site away from them. They got you by the cajones. If you want to move out, you lose your website. That the code will not work anywhere else. So you have to think about this. But it is easy to use, and in many cases, it's free or very cheap. Now, what I didn't know is that it goes up every year when using it, or at other period that you use it. Say it's a for-profit company with valuation that peaked at around $20 billion, and whose business model is getting customers to pay more and more every year and making it difficult to leave or get a refund.
All right, who wrote this article? This is This is an incredibly biased article, right?
I mean, look, he is the co-founder of the open source blogging platform WordPress.
That's his quote?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Okay, all right,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
But I mean,
well,
that doesn't
I was wondering. I was like, Jesus, what kind of journalist is writing this?
Yeah, but obviously, I mean, these things here are
that's a valid point.
Yeah, right. But don't take it as a a lot of people use Wix, and it's easy because they don't have anything else to use, so it's fine.
There's nothing wrong with Wix.
So as they are so insecure that they're also the only website creator I'm aware of that doesn't allow you to export your content. So
that's
they're
a
like
problem.
A roach motel. He said, look, they're like a roach motel where you can check in but never check out.
Yeah.
Once you buy into their
California.
So it's a problem. If I don't understand companies that use Wix. I mean, remember that you may not like a hosting provider, and you can take your website. If it's anything else that I know of, anything, you can take it and move it to another host. Not with Wix, or maybe there are some others out there that
it's interesting. You say there's no way of exporting the data.
No,
I mean, even if it's in their proprietary format, there's no way of exporting.
That's the one thing they don't do. Squarespace will let you export your data because they're another one equivalent to Wix. Squarespace, it's their own CMS, but they'll let you take your data. Wix pretty much does not. But to be fair, you can just copy and paste it. I mean, it's not like
you can copy and paste it, absolutely.
And I would make the argument.
But
I would make the argument. Hold on.
Yeah.
I would make the argument that most people that are building sites on Wix are probably incredibly simple,
Correct.
basic sites. So you're
Right.
not building a full e-commerce solution on Wix.
Right.
So it's probably a splash page. So, I mean, it's a valid point.
I've seen some websites and they look nice and they scroll and they move and all that. You can copy and paste, but all that movement is not going to be there anymore.
Well, correct, but same thing with Squarespace.
But
so
yeah,
you don't get the CMS. You can get the text data or the pictures, but not the actual.
Which is
CMS.
What's important anyway.
Correct. Yeah, that's what runs the whole site. Is the back end. I mean, I'm personally, I wouldn't use Wix, but I don't think I would recommend somebody not use them. I mean, they're not. It's not like it's a incredibly expensive platform to use. It's not hundreds of dollars a year.
Right.
And again, Amnon, this comes back to the stuff that we've talked about a million times. How much work do you want to put in?
Yeah.
Because you can host your own WordPress website, but guess what you're going to have to do? And you do this every day, Amnon. Install WordFence, update your plugins, do all this other ancillary bullshit on the back end.
Either that or you do it on the WordPress site, but then you pay more.
Correct. Or you use something like Wix and they manage and handle all of that stuff. So, I mean, there are pros and cons to this. I do agree with you that the big issue with with a service like Wix is that you can't simply move your site. You essentially have to rebuild it in another CMS. But I understand why the WordPress guy's pissed because Wix is going after him. But I don't think they're quite as bad as being described.
But it's interesting, right? Wix is going after him as the drunken uncle, irresponsible drunken father, irresponsible character, and he responds in exactly that way.
Well,
it's like, don't trust these guys. They're full of crap. It's like, he fell into the trap.
It's always like this when people cannot tell you why their solution is better than the other one, then they just attack the other side.
Right. And the responsible way is, look, I'm not sure my solution is better for you than the other side, but this is what I do differently.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the responsible way to respond.
Right. Absolutely.
But, creating a flame war, what are we, 13? It's like, come on.
I love flame wars. Good times. Let's be honest, though. WordPress.org is a nonprofit. WordPress.com is a for-profit company. I mean, there's two different sites. WordPress is two different things. .org and .com.
Yes.
So
but you can migrate from one to another, right?
Correct.
That's the thing, right? You're free to do whatever. Here you pay for support. Here you get a free product. You can host it on your own, exactly as on WordPress.com. It's that is definitely a superior way of doing business compared to something like Wix.
And
on the business side, on the ethics of the business side, let's put it this way.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know what we know about WordPress. A lot of people are using a WordPress site on the WordPress server.
.com. Yes, WordPress.com.
And some of them, when I had a chance to talk with, that built really nice sites. And I tell them, well, you can do this and do it on your own. You don't need WordPress for that. I said, what do you mean? I have to have them. I said, no, you don't. And somebody that was going to develop a site for Hannah for something, who's pretty good. And he said, Hannah, I'll do it for you. One of her students. I talked to him and I realized he doesn't really understand the whole concept. So I said, come over here. And he came over and I showed him how it's being installed and how you get the plugins. And he says, "Oh, you mean I don't have to be on their server to get all these plugins?" I said, "No, these plugins are out there. You either pay for them or you get the free ones." And he said, "Well, when my contract ends, I'm going to come and host it with you." You can use WordPress, but you don't have to do it on their site. And but again, like Nick said, then you have to update it yourself. As in, and there are a lot of updates. Not that it takes, it probably takes a few minutes a week to do, but you still have to do it. And there are tools that help you do that. And I'm amazed to see some of our customers, how they go in once a week or whenever they get a WordFence notice and they just click on it and say, okay, update, bang, done. So it works. Okay.
There are pros and cons to
absolutely for everything.
All of those. Squarespace, Wix, WordPress.com, self-hosted somewhere else.
Yep.
There are pros and cons to
Absolutely.
all of the above. And Amnon, if people want to host a WordPress website, that's something you offer, correct?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I showed him how
where do you
done.
offer that?
Huh?
Where do you offer that?
At Delta Force. What do you mean?
Well, yeah,
you're trying to make me. You're trying.
I mean, you're trying to set you up for an ad. And
yeah,
you're just
No, I mean, we offer
Lord.
WordPress and everything else. Now, what was it? What's the other one that's a little bit more complicated? No, more complicated than Joomla.
Mangano or whatever it is.
No, oh shoot, I can't remember the name of it. But one of our customers.
Are you using cPanel?
No, don't believe in cPanel.
No, I understand. I was asking because all of them are bundled right into that.
Oh,
you install the instance for the whoever buys hosting. You install it specifically for them.
There is a package that big organizations use. It's open source. It's free. It's on the tip of my tongue. Anyway.
MariaDB?
No, that's
that's the
that's
database.
Just the database.
The backend.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't see anybody on the chat saying anything. Anyway, so they want to go to that. And I said, why? They said they looked at WordPress and the Joomla, and it's not enough for what they want to do with membership and things like that. And they were advised again and again to start using it. So I said, yep, that's fine. We used to have it for one of our customers. It's amazing how when you have a good system administrator like Ron or Jason, there is nothing you cannot do on a web server or an email server. There's so much stuff you can do, and that's why we do it for people. And say, what? You can do that? Yeah. Anyway, we talked last week.
Oh, is it Drupal?
Drupal. That's it.
Okay.
Drupal.
I asked about Drupal. Nobody's listening to me.
I didn't hear you say that.
Drupal's a huge pain in the ass.
Yeah, it is. It is. But they're willing to pay for it, and that's what they want.
Yeah,
sure.
That's the thing with Drupal. Yeah, if you pretty much have to hire a Drupal developer to build your site.
Yeah,
it's not like WordPress. It's a very simple CMS.
Yeah.
On installation. That's kind of the goal. It's very much a sandbox, and then you build on top of it.
Yep. But it has features.
But it has a huge ecosystem of plugins.
Yeah. They do. So
I'm using a simple one right now, a blogging, say a CMS type called Ghost, which is like stupid simple, very, very lean, and works excellent. So there's a lot of solutions.
We talked last year, in the beginning of this year, about Gazelle. The ones that did phone. They were buying phones, cell phones. So trading provider Gazelle exited the online trading business back in February. And now the company says it's changing its mind. Gazelle is back to accepting online trade-ins, iPhones, Samsung phones, Google Pixel devices, iPads, and other tablets on its website. They confirmed that to The Verge. The program resumed accepting new offers on April 5th. And the representative said earlier this year, we announced that we will no longer be offering our trade-in options on Gazelle. After careful consideration, including feedback from customers like you, we have decided to keep Gazelle trade-in going. Today, we are happy to say we're back, baby, reads an email Gazelle sent to prospective customers. So Gazelle is back. If you have cell phones that you want to sell, old phones, they're there again.
Honestly, I wouldn't use them at this point in time.
Because of?
Compared to what?
Compared to app, like if you have an iPhone,
yeah,
Apple offers a better competitive trade-in program than Gazelle does.
Oh, a trade-in or a buy?
Well,
I guess both. It's the same, yeah.
Gazelle's got two. Gazelle's claim to fame was their original buyback of phones. They would buy your old smartphone back for $250 and you get your cash and call it a day.
Right.
But now Apple and actually all of the carriers, and they do this on iPhones. I assume they do this on Samsungs and other very name brand Androids. They'll buy back your phone. They all offer this now. So I'm not really sure there's much of a marketplace for Gazelle anymore, which is I thought why they were shutting down. But I guess not.
Well. Do your research. Do your research.
In the States, Gazelle?
What'd you say?
Because if they are not a US only outfit, then maybe. But I don't know. It seems like they're a United States. So.
Yeah. There was a pretty big thing that came out of the Supreme Court this week. From Justice Clarence Thomas.
Oh yeah.
Who did say that major tech platforms like Facebook, Google, and Twitter are common carriers, which if you're familiar with that whole thing is started back in the telegraph days with Western Union and all of these other companies that were not transmitting telegraphs, and the government had to step in and say, hey, you're a common carrier. You can't decide if you do or don't want to transmit somebody's telegraph. And then, of course, going further into the future, AT&T, common carrier, they're not responsible for what is on their phone lines because they're a common carrier. And that's what Justice Clarence Thomas essentially said, that Facebook, they're utilities, and they should be regulated like one. So this could be, which I'm not the biggest fan of government jumping into any sort of regulation. I've made that point many a times. I'll continue to make it. But I think that the circumstances that we're seeing are out of control is the word I'll use. And I do think there does need to be some sort of conversation as to what these platforms actually are. And I think that's what's so frustrating for a lot of people, myself included, is Facebook and Twitter and Google are playing both sides of the issue, both sides of the coin. And that's not really the way it's supposed to be. You have to be one or the other. You're either a common carrier or you're a private platform. Pick.
Yeah. What is it? 230?
Section 230. Yeah. Section 230 covers a little bit of it. It's not the end all be all. But this his whole statement on that is, he said, there's a fair argument that some digital platforms are sufficiently akin to common carriers or places of accommodation to be regulated in this matter. So,
yeah, they should be regulated.
well, I'm not necessarily sure. I don't necessarily think that they should be regulated. I'm not sure how I feel about that. That's a
fine.
tough. Well,
Shut them down.
it's a regulation is not always the greatest thing in the world,
right?
And the government, I'm not a big fan of big government, and regulation is the definition of big government. So I'm not sure exactly what the solution is, but this idea that they are a common carrier, I do agree with. They absolutely are a common carrier, and if that's the case, then they need to be liable. They need to be responsible like another common carrier.
Right.
For example, your internet provider can't just shut your internet off because they don't like what you're doing online. Now, if you're doing illegal stuff online, that's different, right? If you're stealing content or something, they can send you, notices and then suspend your service. That's against their terms of service. But because you're browsing, Rumble or BitChute, they can't just shut your internet off. That's they're regulated. They're not allowed to do that. And I think that's the argument that Clarence Thomas is making on the Supreme Court about Facebook and Twitter and Google. And I would agree that that's probably the case. So we'll have to see what comes of it, but I don't think it's over yet.
But they've been trying to do it for a while now.
Yeah, but 230 is not the way to do it. Section 230 is not. I mean, it's not. It's part of the puzzle, but it's not the end all be all. It wouldn't solve the issues, in my opinion.
Oh, we'll wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And T-Mobile made a series of announcements Wednesday as part of its latest Un-Carrier initiative, including the official launch of its new home internet service, 5G phone offerings, and new investment in rural areas. So, one, T-Mobile Home Internet. After piloting a home internet service powered by its wireless network, T-Mobile Home Internet is now available to more than 30 million U.S. households. It costs $60 a month. That's $10 more per month than the pilot program, with average expected speed of 100 megabits for most customers and an included 4G, 5G gateway device. That's nice for people that are not in cities.
Yeah, if you have T-Mobile service, though.
Right.
T-Mobile's got T-Mobile, I believe, has got the poorest coverage map of the three main carriers.
Then they have what they call T-Mobile Hometown. The Bellevue, Washington-based company will build hundreds of new retail stores and create 5,000 jobs in small U.S. towns. It is also adding hometown experts to towns where it can't build a store and committing $25 million over 5 years to fund community development projects in rural area. Nice.
What exactly is the goal with the hometown store? What are they going to be doing?
Where they can offer information and sell in smaller markets. That it's part of their Un-Carrier initiative.
Interesting. I'm not sure why you'd want to have physical locations in small cities, but
I don't know. And then they have 5G phones, and it said it will let postpaid customers trade in old phones in working condition for a new Samsung Galaxy A32 5G smartphone for free after 24 months bill credit.
Yeah, for free after 2 years.
Yeah.
My house is going to be free after 30 years, right?
Yeah, the seller offered you a free house.
The bank is giving me if I'm living for free.
Absolutely.
For 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
For just a small payment of almost $1,100 a month. But it's free.
Yeah, but it's free. Egal.
Yeah.
Last year, net market share showed that Edge, 7.5% desktop market share, pushed it passed Firefox in March of last year.
That's not
Now,
surprise.
Stat Counter reports that Edge has been adding users over the last few months as Firefox's user base shrinks. While the data doesn't prove Firefox users have been leaving for Edge, we see that Microsoft Browser has seen its market share jump from 7.8 to 8.0, while Mozilla's product declined from 8.1 to 7.5, 7 to 8, 7.95. That is an all-time high for Edge, according to Stat Counter. Edge's gain in user hasn't secured it the second position. That owner goes to Safari, which now has 10.11% share, though its numbers have been falling since December, so Edge could overtake it soon enough. Like Windows 7, it seems some people are having trouble letting go of the now discontinued Internet Explorer. It has 1.7 share. I mean, they don't support it for some time, but it still has 1.7% share.
I'm surprised it's not higher.
That is declining very slowly.
Yeah, because services still require it.
Yeah.
We have a customer of ours that is the bank, and their system still requires them to use Internet Explorer. It does not work in another browser. Have no choice but to use IE.
After all this, the data is only for the desktop market. They did not take in what people use on their phone.
Yeah, and I'm guessing it'll grow. Look, Edge is finally the baked-in browser in Windows is finally a good browser. Okay, there is no difference between Edge and Chrome. So I would say it's superior to Safari for sure, but it's only on Windows, right? So it's less important. And Firefox, while I really love it and I use it and it's my daily driver, it unfortunately it won't gain the traction that it had in the past before Chrome. That will never happen because it has become this privacy-centered tech tool, right? And it has a lot less appeal unless you know somebody who installed it for you, right? It's like, and I think with Edge being how it is right now, it's gonna overtake Chrome if everything stays the same way. If the stage stays the same, if Chrome keeps on doing what they're doing, Edge keeps on doing what they're doing, Firefox keeps on doing what they're doing, and nothing drastic happens, I think we'll see Edge eventually surpass Chrome or match it on the Windows desktop. I don't know what's going to happen on others. Firefox is probably still going to be the major player on Linux systems, just because Chrome, although it's based on an open source project, right? Installing it by default using the open source repo and all that, that is less appealing than just clicking or writing one command line and installing Firefox, which is because it's completely open source. So Linux will still see the majority there on Firefox, probably Chrome for those who want to install, because I don't think they can install Edge on Linux, even though that practically there's no real difference, right? But I think Edge is tied to the Microsoft Store for extensions and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm not surprised.
They have Edge builds for Linux. Microsoft makes them available.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's called the Edge Insider
I doubt
channel.
A lot of people install it, but yeah.
You got to give Microsoft credit. They said they were going to adopt some of this open source and Linux stuff, and they've actually done it.
I use PowerShell exclusively on Linux, right? So I definitely It's not like I just the users adopting it. That's less of a. That's what I see a less chance of.
It's just cool that, like, you hear companies all the time. Oh, we make a commitment to X, Y. Like you just heard that crap from T-Mobile. We make a commitment to small towns. They're just going to pay nothing. Nothing's going to happen, right? Realistically, Microsoft's actually followed through with this, and the fact that they have a weekly. So this Edge for Chrome, or excuse me, Edge for Linux is updated weekly. It's a dev.
Yeah.
They're actively working on it. So there's a dev update every single week. They also make it available for Mac, which I didn't realize was a thing. They're all in, which is great.
I think there's a companion app on Android. So I'm guessing
there's an app for iOS and Android as well, plus HoloLens and everything else.
Right, and that makes sense, because if they are pulling you in, then they probably want to pull you into a complete ecosystem of you using it everywhere, like you use other browsers, right?
Yeah.
Sending a tab from your mobile to your PC and vice versa. So yeah, I get that.
I'm not the biggest Microsoft fan in the world, but you got to give the devil his due.
Oh no, they've changed their behavior completely in the past few years. I agree. They have embraced open source. Hey, they own GitHub, right?
Yeah,
the
literally.
Mecca of open source. So they definitely did some interesting moves there. But yeah.
It I don't know how much you follow on the gaming side, Gal. But Microsoft really is about to own everything.
Like, you're talking about Discord.
Well, I'm just talking about they're doing they bought Bethesda. They're looking at buying Discord. They've been purchasing all these studios, Xbox Game Pass, xCloud. Then on the Windows side, you've got Microsoft is really, over the past, I'd call it 5 years, they have really made a play to be, they are trying to become the ecosystem for, in terms of gaming. They want to be the whole gaming ecosystem should be Xbox. And on the desktop computing side, they're making that same push with Windows, that Windows is the ecosystem that everything is. And it's just very interesting to see all of the things that they've been doing over the past 5 or so years and how it's all kind of panning out. Not that Microsoft isn't already a dominant player, but they will be the biggest player within the next couple in everything. I mean, that's just where they're placing themselves.
I'm going to use you for a PSA. Please explain to our audiences what is the Xbox Game Pass and why they should get it on the PC. This is like fracking. This is
So Microsoft's
amazing.
been making game consoles very popular. Very popular through the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. Well, we've seen them kind of stagger in shininess, flashiness, kind of this is the thing you have to have. Why? Well, because a lot of people are playing games on PCs, and frankly, the games just aren't really as good. So Microsoft's made an interesting approach. Instead of, obviously they're still going to come out with consoles every 5 to 7 to 10 years, but they've been making these backdoor deals with all these companies to essentially purchase the licensing to their games and put them on what is called the Xbox Game Pass. Now, there's 2 different parts of Game Pass. There's Game Pass for the Xbox, which is a monthly subscription. I think it's $15 a month, and you get access to hundreds of games. Not crappy, like stupid games either. We're talking AAA same-day release titles for $15 a month. And their continued expansion on the PC front, they have a game, I think it's called Game Pass Ultimate, and it's available on the PC, and it's the same thing essentially. You get it's a little bit more, maybe $20 a month or $19. You get access to an incredible library of games for free. Yes, I know you're paying a monthly subscription, but for free. These games are available for you to play at any time. And there are hundreds of really good games. Red Dead Redemption 2, Grand Theft Auto. I mean, you're talking real AAA titles. They just recently purchased Bethesda, who makes Skyrim, who makes Which is
Fallout.
id Software. They make Doom. They make Fallout. I mean, you're talking about some of the most legendary IPs in gaming. Elder Scrolls, the whole thing. So they are really making a huge play on the gaming side. They're just buying things. They're just buying everything. Anything that's available to buy, they're buying. They're going to just own. They're going to own the gaming space here within the next couple of years. There's no question about it.
Isn't that?
And they did something completely out of the blue about a year, 2 years ago, is that any Xbox title that you own, right? If you own it through their digital store and it has a PC version, you also own the PC version. So this is like PlayStation can't compete with that.
Not
Nintendo
at all.
can't compete with that, right? Not all, but anything that has that they own the licensing for or whatever, right? So, and I'm guessing is they're going to push future products that are going to be issued to their network to have that same availability, right? So you pay $60 for the title, the same way you'll pay for in any other platform, but now you get it to work on the Xbox and the PC. I mean, this is the first time that we don't have an Xbox, and this is the first time that my son bought an Xbox title just so he could play it on the PC. And that's a unique approach as well.
What did he buy?
Forza.
Oh, Forza Motorsports, yeah.
Yeah. So
pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. And I think they're doing a similar thing on the PC side with Windows. They're really they're doing a lot of things that are, obviously it's a different industry completely, but they're doing lots of things to put themselves in a very strong position over the next decade or so. That like they will be a monopoly. They'll be a monopoly. They'll own it all.
That's the interesting thing. Will they overshadow Steam?
No, they won't overshadow Steam, but they actually they probably will, and because you'll pay $15 a month and get access to 450 video games, they actually probably will soon. Now, of course, there are disadvantages. Same thing to Netflix. So games go away after a period of time, right? Unless they're Microsoft first-party studios or Microsoft games, they are quote unquote exclusives, right? They're limited runs. They pay a license fee for 24 months to have this game available, for 8 months to have this game available. So that, there are those instances. But the big games I think are there to stay, like Red Dead Redemption and things like that. Those won't be going anywhere. And the big thing that they're doing, which I think, Gal, you mentioned, was they're having day one releases available on Game Pass. So the day a game comes out, you can go to the store and buy it for $60 or stream it for free if you have Game Pass. That's game changing. That's unheard of.
And how much is that Game Pass?
There's a bunch of different prices based on what you want. Game
I mean,
Pass,
it
goes all over the place. So Game Pass Ultimate is, hold on a second. Well, it's $1 a month for the first 3 months, but it goes up to. I'll find it.
That's the most expensive.
No, it's a promo that they run for.
Didn't they also
Game Pass Ultimate is $15 a month.
Oh,
which is a really good deal.
How many games are released a year, roughly?
I don't know how many a year, but there are hundreds of games already available.
Did they not also buy a Mixer, or they sold it?
They owned Mixer and then shut it down.
Oh, okay.
They did buy Mixer and then close it. Yeah, it wasn't doing well. And also the other thing, EA Play is now available on Xbox Game Pass as well. So EA had their own service like Game Pass, and Microsoft said, hey, your service is failing. Nobody uses it. Just bring your service over to ours. So now you get all of the EA games, again, for the same price. It's just incredible to see what they're doing. Yeah. And again, I'm not the biggest Microsoft fan in the world. I do love Xbox. But I mean, they're going to, if I were Sony right now, I'd be tidying up my resume because Microsoft is going to bury them. There's nothing that they can do to compete. Literally nothing. I don't think I'm wrong on that, Carl. I don't know what they could possibly
because
do.
they don't own the PC users, and Microsoft do. So yeah.
I mean, there's just no, I mean, unless Sony just releases AAA title after AAA title that are just the most amazing games ever released, which they won't be able to do. There's literally nothing.
Sony is probably going to keep their share of the hardcore players, but they are going to lose on a lot of casual ones, because it'll make a lot more sense for people who only own one console to own an Xbox.
Oh, 100%. And then you can play games on your computer. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, exactly. They could have access to it on their computer. They will have access to it on their console. Everything you do on the computer is automatically saved in there, and your progress and etc. It's like, they're on the gaming side, they will definitely own the attention.
Okay.
Very exciting.
Something else here about iOS, Android. Apple knows that iMessage blue bubbles are a big barrier to people switching to Android. What is blue bubble?
That's what iMessage is.
On
an iPhone, it's blue if you're an iMessage, green if it's a text message.
Which is why the service has never appeared on Google's mobile operating system. That's according to the positions and emails from Apple employees, including some high-ranking executives, revealed in a court filing from Epic Games as part of its legal dispute with iPhone manufacturer. Epic argues that Apple consciously tries to lock customers into its ecosystem of devices, and that iMessage is one of the key services helping it to do so. It cites comments made by Apple's Senior Vice President of Internet Software and Services, Eddie Q, Senior Vice President of Software Engineer, Craig, and Apple Fellow, Phil Schiller. The number one most difficult reason to leave the Apple Universe app is iMessage. iMessage amounts to serious lock-in, was how one unnamed former Apple employee puts it in an email in 2016, prompting Schiller to respond that moving iMessage to Android will hurt us more than help us. This email illustrates why iMessage on Android would simply serve to remove an obstacle to iPhone families giving their kids Android phones. It was his concern, according to the Epic filing, and although workarounds to using iMessage on Android have emerged over the years, none have been particularly convenient or reliable. I was never aware of that.
I can never get an Android phone.
What are you talking about? We talked about it tons of times on the show.
No, I was never aware of the fact that iMessage is such a value to.
I've mentioned this multiple times.
Okay.
That's the reason I can never get an Android phone.
I guess because I don't use an iPhone, I don't. Yeah. It doesn't register. But that's interesting.
I will for unless everybody switches, I will have an iPhone for the rest of time.
Or you'll have iMessage solution
somewhere else. Correct.
If that comes up.
Yeah, which it won't.
That's what I'm trying to understand about this filing, right? This is an Epic
it's just another
related court case.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And what's the filing about? So this is an evidence about something, yes, but we know about it.
It's deposition. So Epic is suing Apple over their store because Apple takes 30 or 40% of transactions on their store. And Epic is making the argument, well, Epic was selling in their app, not using the store. So
Yeah.
Apple kicked them off the App Store. And now Epic is making the play to the legal system that, hey, they are acting as a monopoly, right? They have, there is no way to do transactions on their store without using them, which they'll lose in court, I think. But this, I'll tell you what, man,
they're right.
There's some, well, they're right, but there's some deep, there are some deep things coming out of these court filings thus far, and it makes Apple look terrible. It's not going to change anything, but it's Epic is just totally peeling back the can on Apple, and it's very fun.
It's not necessarily won't happen. I mean, because if the court case gives anything away to Epic, right? Gives them the permission to run their own payment system on an Apple device, for example, right? That does mean something that will. I mean, it won't change iMessage anytime soon, but it's definitely there.
It's a path.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just interesting how they
taking us back to the Supreme Court decision about these platforms, Facebook and Twitter being common carriers. If a decision like that includes iMessage, what would that mean? Would that mean that they have to open it up?
No, yeah, it will. Like it will mean like AT&T can't tell you that you can't talk about something on their phone line, which is what they're not allowed to do because they're a common carrier. Again, outside of illegal things, AT&T can't stop a conversation that you and I are having or couldn't because they disagreed with what we were saying. Mm-hmm. That was the definition of that's what a common carrier is. Same thing with your power company. They can't just shut off your power because they don't like you. Now, again, if you're abusing it or you doing something against their terms of service, kind of different. But there, as a common carrier, there are certain things that they're regulated. They're a public utility almost at that point. So your water company just can't shut off your water because you're flushing your toilet too much. That's not a thing that they can do. They're not allowed to. So them being a common carrier they would lose the ability to just delete a post. Like, for example, YouTube the other day pulled down a roundtable discussion with Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida. It would not allow that to happen anymore because they're a common carrier. You can't decide that you don't like that. I mean, he wasn't doing anything illegal. He wasn't committing a crime. It was a roundtable discussion that they didn't agree with. So that's where they're going.
Well, you may say whatever you want about the power company can't do it, but last night at 1:00, our power went out. And I'm sure it was because I did not comb my hair before I went to bed. So I had to get up. And by the time I got to the door to start the generator, it came back. But it was ridiculous. And it wasn't even raining here. But obviously, it was storming somewhere.
It may have been maintenance.
Well,
if I have to pull somebody offline,
yes, then
I would do it at 1:00 on a Sunday morning.
Yeah, somebody needs to come up with a device. The problem why I want to go and start the generator right away is because every time it goes out, it comes back for a second or two, and it goes out again and comes back and goes out again. And that's really bad on equipment.
That's why you have a surge protector.
Right. But, well, not because of surges, because of starting and stopping. Not everything.
Starting and stopping's not bad.
Well,
surges are
buy
bad.
Buy a Tesla battery.
Yeah.
Surges are. Yeah, I mean, you can get a whole house power conditioner. That'll solve your problem.
The air conditioning unit, the heating, the heat pump. Mm-hmm. If the power goes out, it will and comes back after a second or two. It will not come back online. It says, "Please wait," and it sits there, which is good. It's great. Something like this for the whole house.
They do. Again, you can get a whole house power conditioner.
Yeah.
But I mean, it'll cost you $15,000.
Yeah.
You could get a whole. I mean, what
I was
what
actually
businesses do is they get those incredibly large UPSs
yeah.
that will run for about 12 to 30 minutes
Mhm.
until the generator has time to turn over. That's the solution. But
Well,
again, I mean, that's
my
a big
solution is a
thing.
lot simpler.
Yeah,
I want to
kill the
have
breaker.
a a breaker that a relay or a set of relays that if the power goes out, it obviously it goes out, so it cuts the power off. But when the power if power comes back within predetermined number of seconds, like a second or two, it will not switch back on. It will stay off. And when the power is back for like 10 seconds consecutive, then switch back on.
Go buy a Shelly relay and install Home Assistant, and you can do it in 10 minutes.
No, for the
Or
house,
get an eight or
for
get
the
an
house?
ATS.
Yeah. You just need you need the relay to be one that supports the current that you're
it needs
working
to.
with, and there are a lot of those. I mean, it might cost you a bit, but
Well,
it's not complex to program these.
to do.
But Amnon, an ATS is a much simpler solution.
A what?
An automatic transfer switch. That's what an ATS does.
Those transfer switches also wait until
That's what I'm saying. That's like if you look at a facility that has a standby generator, that's what an automatic transfer switch does. The power goes out, the generator cranks up, and then there is a predetermined amount of time that the generator will run depending on how quickly the grid power comes back. So, So you are over on utility power.
But the utility,
excuse me, you're on standby.
I think those automatic transfers they also depends on, okay, the power went down. 1, 2, 3. They count so many seconds before they start the generator.
Correct.
I don't want that. I don't want it to decide. I want it, if the power went out, disconnect from the grid until it's back.
Well, you can program that.
That's the thing.
Yeah, I'm sure you can program that.
Well,
but I mean, if you've ever seen like a Generac or a Cummins ATS, that's what they do. They have, for example, I think the generators that I was dealing with when I was doing some of the radio junior engineering stuff, I believe ours were 5 minutes. 5 minutes of a stable sine wave before the generator. The ATS clicks back.
Yeah, that is already programmed in here. When I use
correct,
I mean
that's what the ATS does. It just monitors the incoming power, and after 5 minutes of stable power, it shuts it clicks back over to utility and shuts the generator and cranks the generator down. So I mean that's your real solution, but obviously that requires a generator and a whole.
Yeah, I could not without serious rewiring of the control panel on this military vehicle. Generator, there's no way to start it automatically because there's a series of switches. Yeah.
But yeah. ATS is kind of you're looking for an ATS.
Well, so anyway, the power.
We had a terrible thunderstorm here about 3:30. Woke me up.
It was raining a little bit here. I mean, really not. I was hoping for a good rain because we got gravel last week, and you want it to wash because it's got all this grit on it, and every time it gets on your shoes, you need a good rain to wash it down, and then everything is fine. And I don't think we got it, but it must have been doing something somewhere. Or like you said, it could have been a maintenance. I don't know.
That's what I would have done. That's the time I would have chosen to do maintenance.
No.
If I were a power company.
They need to have somebody who does it, who doesn't stutter with their hand. Like, switch off. Okay. Ready. Switch on. Not oh no no
So
no.
it was out for what, 60 seconds?
It was off for probably 60 seconds or longer.
Yeah, that sounds like maintenance to me.
Yeah. Anyway, anything else? Gal, anything new about cord cutting
Uh,
that
not
you
really.
can talk about?
No, nothing that I've
Okay.
seen. I mean,
Yeah.
you had your Plex heating up this week, but starting it solved everything, and we don't know why. So we're trying to catch that
Yeah. Next time.
bizarreness around that. Um, did I mention there's a subreddit, an interesting subreddit that I think people of the show would be interested in. It's called, I think it's called Ungoogle. Do you know that one,
No.
Nick?
I do not. I do not.
So the Google, that's the name of the subreddit, and it's related to. I'll try to find the other one that it's related to, and it's basically okay. You plan to cut Google out of your life. What does that mean? What are the alternatives? How you go about it? What can you do with the data that you get for it? How do you stop being exposed to Google? And like that, there are a few other privacy-oriented subreddits. Uh, called. I'll try to find the. So something worth looking at. Um, Paste the name again. Yeah, exactly. Uh, so interesting one to follow. One of the things I've de-googled this week is my Nest thermostat. I installed a Zigbee thermostat that and hooked it up to my home assistant. The thermostat cost me less than $40, and with Home Assistant, I can make it as smart as I want or as dumb as I want. Um, Compared to the Nest one, which cost 250 back in 2016. So
Mm.
yeah, and it has nothing to do with Google. And the main reason I replaced it is, I mean, if it was easy to work with Home Assistant and the Nest thermostat, I probably would have kept it. It's not such a big deal. But Google has made it very difficult to integrate third party into it. You actually need to pay money in order to integrate it to a third party controller, something outside of their Google Home. Not a subscription fee, but a one time fee. Still, it's like, come on, you're making this hard on purpose. I'm not going to use you anymore. So, um, yep. So that's one. The other one, the other interesting thing that I've discovered, we talked about smart home plugs in the past. From time to time, Spence mentioned them in the specials. And one of the things that I cringe about Wi-Fi plugs is they always require calling outside to a server that relays the messaging, and that has to do with making things simple. And I get that. That's, I have no problem with it, but there should be an option for somebody technical with some technical savviness to at least deal with how do I make things only work internally. And I discovered these switches called Shelly switches, Shelly plug. I bought a Shelly plug US. It's a very simple. It's a very simple plug. Form factor is excellent because you can put two um, uh, on a wall plug, so they don't take up too much space. And they're Wi-Fi, and they can work with the Shelly Cloud solution, but they can also work internally via an IP. You get to the connect to it via a web browser on your mobile phone or on your PC, and you set it up, and you can control it internally completely. And of course, there's great integration with stuff like Home Assistant. So definitely something I would recommend. This one costs $12, so it's cheap. It's not an expensive plug. So we didn't have specials, but we do have at least one recommendation of a purchase.
Can you put
check them out?
Yeah, can you put the link?
Yeah, I think AmeriDroid is a good place in the US to buy
whichever.
them. Yeah, and I'll send the link for that. So yeah, that's it's not exactly cord cutting, but it is like disconnecting from externals, right? Self-reliancy with home automation.
Yeah.
$12.95. Currently out of stock, but they're getting new stock all the time. So
all right.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, guys. It's time. That was a lot of fun. I guess that'll be it. Thanks, Gal. Thanks, Nick. I guess we'll talk during the week. But did Gal go to get something?
I don't think so.
Oh. All right. Well, good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie and Donna, Dina, Micha, Arlet, Eleanor. See you here. Sarid. Thank you, everybody, for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing. Back up your hard drive. And don't forget to update your virus scanner. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9. But you can always reach us at computers2know.com or on the Roku. Tonight there is an ATN, right? Against the norm.
Final show of them all.
So tonight is the finale, season finale, or series finale.
Series finale would be the word. Yes, sir.
Of Against the Norm at atnshow.com. Nick hosting. And Nick also hosts with Brian on Tuesday evening at 7 on Twitch, the Infection Podcast for gamers. Go visit them there. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.